everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at some more heroes and villains from Marvel United. And I'm just ranking everyone in my own personal preference of how I like to play them, how much I want to play with that character or that villain. We're taking a look at 6 heroes and 3 villains today. And again, these are just my preferences. I like playing with almost everyone, so even though these people are near the bottom, yeah, you know, I'm still gladly play with most of them. And the villains, I have stronger feelings on the villains than I do on the heroes. But yeah, let's take a look at these. We got a little bit of extra Spider-Man stuff today. Here we go, starting with the heroes. So first we have Vision here. Vision is very heroic. You can see he has a lot of heroic symbols on his cards. His special cards are not so bad. Can't take any damage. This one though, the Evolving Instinct, I don't like it because it's very situational. You get a wild token for each location with no empty slots, and that's just a very rare thing in the games I play. And then this one here, which adds all the fighting icons at the bottom of the last 4 hero cards, could be amazing. It could be amazing, but it also has nothing on the bottom of it. So he's okay for me. He's higher than Wanda is, but I find the Vision to be an alright character. The Wasp has no overwhelmingly great characteristics, although it's a very decent character. One of my favorite miniatures, though, I really like the fact that she's standing on a die. So that's just really cool. And I'm sitting around like, what color do I want that die painted? But anyway, she has a lot of fighting and a lot of movement. Very versatile, easy to fly around, move, punch, move, punch, move, punch. And she can move herself and other heroes. Good card. Shrinking, not bad with a wild at the bottom, move anywhere and punch. So not a bad character, easily able to move around and has a decent spread of the different icons. So yeah, she's not bad. Mantis, one of the Guardians of the Galaxy who's not in the Guardians of the Galaxy set, she has pretty bad fighting. Well, she has a double fighting, I guess not bad, but I mean not as good as the other heroes. You can see a lot of heroic symbols on her cards. She's a teammate player. She lets someone else draw 2 cards. You can use each action as if you're at a different location. That's pretty neat, although it only has 1 heroic thing on it. And then this one is her best card, cancel any BAM, and it's a wild at the bottom. Canceling a BAM is not a bad idea. I don't dislike Mantis. In fact, from this point on, I'll use any of these heroes gladly. I have to rank them somehow. And I mean, with her, she just doesn't have any wow factor for me compared to the other ones. But she's a good team player, and mixed with a couple strong fighters, can do really well. Well, Groot wins for having the most special cards. In fact, every card except for his single and double wild are specials. The problem is, even though they're kind of cool, you know, move another hero, unit another hero, draw a card. In fact, Groot's really difficult to kill since he has 3 cards that let him draw a card. And doing an extra damage at your location, it's all very good. He's another great teammate, just like Mantis is. It's just that the icons on his card aren't that great. And because of that, I mean, his fighting ability is pretty handy. I mean, I give him a pretty good rating on that because he has 4 fighting icons, plus there's another fighting icon on each one of them, plus he lets somebody else make a fighting icon, and he's, you know, he lets someone else be maneuverable, but he's like the backup guy. He's not the guy who's ever going to get the glory. But he's there as a helper. You put him with Rocket or you put him with Star-Lord, it's a really good combo. By himself though, he's not probably going to be my first draft, although he's one of my favorite characters in the universe, and he's one of the few who almost doesn't look like a chibi character. So anyway, that's Groot. Here's one of the Spider-Man that's not into the Spider-Verse set, but Spider-Man 2099, an interesting character, and I personally, again, I like a lot of these models, but I really like this one here. Can't take any damage, can really hit a single enemy. This is his best card because he can do 2 damage against a single enemy, and damage can't be reduced. And sometimes there's a few enemies in the game who are reducing damage. And his other cards are pretty solid. The move and punch and the move and heroic, that's a good combo to have, being able to do a heroic action in any location. Not super flashy, but he's kind of like a nice stable player, again with a nice spread of icons. Nothing super strong. Again, I'm not seeing him stand out necessarily in a crowd, but a good character to have on a team. Ant-Man's most interesting card is Quantum Leap here, and this is where you can swap a card with any other card. So essentially it lets you play a card twice. That's not bad, you know, considering you have double heroics in this. And his grow card, which lets him move twice and hit someone for 3. Which is good in endgame for sure when you're fighting against the villain, and it's also very thematic and fun. Not taking any damage with a wild. Again, pretty cool, and this card is kind of the focal point of the deck, and he's also pretty strong heroically. So I like using Ant-Man a lot. I also think he has, again, another fun model here where you can see he's on top of the coin, and that's kind of a neat aspect there. So yeah, one of the original set characters. There's 2 of them we talked about here. I don't know that I would put Ant-Man and Wasp on the same team, but I think they're both good supports for other players. In this particular video, we're taking a look at the next 3 villains are all Spider-Man villains. Now don't get me wrong, some of the Spider-Man villains are my favorite in the game, but some of these are, Rhino is one of the characters I played the most against, and I have beaten him. It's just that, first of all, I think his things here, if you end your turn in a location, you get a crisis token. If you take damage, you get a crisis token. It's just not very interesting, the different things that he has here. When he KOs a hero, he gives that person a crisis token. If they have a crisis token, you have to play your next card face down. And I really, really dislike that. That's just one of the things I'm not a big fan of, having to play your cards face down. So you then get rid of your crisis tokens, but he gives them so much. His BAM, he does damage is equal to the number of locations he enters his turn, so he's really, you know, wailing on you at any given point, and he moves the heroes all the time and BAMs. So yeah, he's beatable because he has a lot of cards where he just runs around, puts stuff out, and if you work together as a team, you can take him out. I think he's just low, for me, lower because you're playing cards face down, and because he doesn't do anything that I find tremendously interesting. Of course, you could argue that's the way the comic book character is also. So following that same theme here, Electro is just not a tremendously fun person for me to fight against. They whoop on you so hard. Electro can place crisis tokens out there, with basically from overflow, but also from cards. You can do crisis tokens, and if every location has a crisis token, you all lose. Also, when there's a crisis token in a location, you can't use a special ability of that location. So unless you have a hero who can get rid of crisis tokens, you're kind of, you know, it's not that great. Not to mention, he does more damage than you might think. His BAM hits you in the opposite side and the 2 locations next to that. So he's just constantly moving all over the place and hitting multiple characters. And every time he lands on these 2 cards, he gets 3 health and can go above his starting value. Normally, I like that sort of thing, but if he lands on one of these on the first turn, which is very possible, and then lands another one second turn, you're already in the hole. He could have 12 health after 2 turns. So you need to get rid of these as quickly as you can, but when he lands on these, he plays extra master plot cards. I find him very difficult for me to beat. I think he's an interesting character. I mean, he's definitely a challenge, and that's good. I mean, people want the challenge ones. He's just personally one that kicks me all over the ground, so I don't like to play against him as much. And then we have Carnage. Now, Carnage is evil in the comic book, but he has a track, so there's a few villains that have tracks here, and when his get to 10, you lose. Here, if you add people to a location, you can't. You get rid of all the heroes with a crisis token away from the one with the most, and for each one you increase this track by 1. He puts a crisis token above each person when he moves, you know, wherever the heroes are. But he has so many cards that add heroes to locations. He'll move to the people with the most heroes. He's really hard. He's one of the quickest losses I've ever had in this game. I mean, you have these Carnage's offspring here, which are not useful because they're hurting heroes and adding crisis tokens to people. They're just, it's like a very one-note thing. They're throwing people out, putting crisis tokens on them. They're going to eat people and kill people. Very thematic, very maximum carnage, but very difficult to stop. And it forces you, you know, here the people even take extras to free them. So, whew, this one's difficult. I have not beat Carnage yet, and I don't know that I have a lot of fun playing against him, which is why he's lower on my list. So these are the sets that today's characters came from, and of course I'm sure some of you, I probably put some of your favorites at the bottom here. Let me know in the comments. But hey, I'm going to be ranking all of them, and we got even better stuff to come. So let's keep going. Next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the best heroes and villains of Marvel United by Tom Vasel.